You can go ahead and send a million emails, but if you don't know how to write a good subject line, no one will take a meeting with you. I know this firsthand when I started my sales career at HubSpot, when I wasn't getting any opens or replies on my emails. But after trial and error, I eventually became a top seller and was ranked third place in all of North America. I attribute this success to my ability to write compelling emails with exciting subject lines, which averaged me a 10% reply rate during my time there. And in this video, I'll walk you through the framework and psychology behind crafting effective subject lines for cold emails. Exactly what I use to help my clients at warmleads.io generate qualified leads. So without further ado, let's get into the video, guys. So the first thing you guys want to think about is writing a subject line is actually oftentimes overlooked, but is very important nonetheless, is understanding your target audience, which is your ICP, which helps you focus your efforts on the right customers and ultimately improve your conversion rates with cold email specifically. The better you understand your ICP, the better cold emails and subject lines you can craft. So, how do you create ICPs? You guys might ask. A simple way is to start by creating a table with some key fields that will give you a comprehensive view of the ideal customer you guys are looking to get. And here's just kind of a brain exercise, and you guys can do this for yourselves in order to find your ICP. So, first thing is what type of industry are you looking to go after, right? Are they SaaS? Are they e-commerce? Are they manufacturing? That's one of the first things you have to think about. Second is what type of persona are you going after? Meaning, are you going after the marketer? Are you going after the sales lead? Are you going after the CEO, the C-level executives? That's also very crucial because then you can understand who you're actually targeting with your cold outbound. The other aspect is, are you going after startups? Are you going after mid-sized companies, enterprise level companies? That'll ultimately determine how you're going to go about your outreach as well. What type of location are you going after, right? Is it people in the US? Is it people in the UK? Very important as well. What type of budget do they have, right? If they're a bigger enterprise company, they tend to have bigger budgets. Smaller companies have lower budgets unless they're a startup and they have funding. Another aspect is what type of software are they using? Are they using any CRMs? Are they using any competitive tech stacks that you guys might want to pitch in your cold outbound? That's very important. What type of pain points do they have? Another key thing that's oftentimes overlooked. What do they deal with, right, on a day-to-day? What type of struggles they have, each of those personas. Low conversion, lack of automation, very important. What decision makers are in the company? That's very important as well. That doesn't necessarily mean who's going to purchase, right? But that's the person that might give the green light in order for the company to actually purchase your product or service. It could be the people like the CMO, the procurement team, the founders. What is their preferred channels of communication? Do they oftentimes communicate over email? Do they communicate over LinkedIn, phone? That's very important as well. And what is the team structure? How many salespeople do they have? How many marketers do they have? So this will kind of get you guys thinking in terms of finding your ICP. Now, don't feel like you need to get all these details perfect right away. This is just an interactive process that will evolve as you gather more data about your ICP. The key takeaway here is that a well-defined ICP allows you to focus your resources and sort of your cold outbound to the people that are actually going to benefit the most, ultimately returning better ROI for your business. Once you have your ICP set, it'll be much easier to craft tailored subject lines that actually captures that person's attention. So the next thing we will actually want to cover here is actually understanding where the subject line is within the actual pitch, right? And the best way to kind of talk about this is the pain funnel. And if you guys don't know what the pain funnel is, essentially it's a way of thinking where essentially you're using in your cold email to actually get someone interested in your product or service and ultimately book a meeting. So the subject line is actually in the relevant intro aspect, where the pain is sort of you're talking about the pain of something that you're pitching. The solution is your solution that you're offering, and then the CTA, the call to action, is what you're pitching. For example, the meeting, right, or just to send relevant information. That's what the CTA consists of. But right now, we're going to focus on subject line. The first thing you guys want to think about in terms of writing a cold email and a good subject line is actually what type of subject line you want to have, right? And there's different ones, and I'll explain this right now. But the first one is the desired outcome subject line, which is essentially like what they want out of your product or service. And with all these subject lines, you have to keep it max 6 words, 5 to 6 words. The shorter, the better, because ultimately, if you have a long subject line, is going to get cut off and they're only going to see the first couple words. So just keep that in mind with everything I'm explaining. So the first desired outcome subject line is helping them essentially understand their desired outcome. Meaning, for example, if you're talking with the VP of sales, their ultimate goal is to fill their pipelines with leads, right? That's something you could put in your subject line. We help fill your pipeline with leads. Another could be helping your sales team find your ICP, right? So this is just desired outcomes that each persona has that you're sort of putting in your subject line that might captivate their attention. But you wouldn't know this unless you know your ICP very well. That's why you have to go through the first exercise I explained. The second is actually the pain type of subject line, which is the problems that they're dealing with specifically. So it could be, for example, when you're talking with the VP of sales, a pain could be them not having enough leads, right? It's kind of a small switch compared to the first one, which is the desired outcome, but lack of lead is the pain, right? Or for the marketers, lack of top of the funnel marketing efforts, which ultimately drives leads. That's something you guys can think about as well. Another example could be, for example, if you're pitching like a CRM, like I used to work at HubSpot, I used to pitch our CRM a ton of times. You can also put, like, for example, hard to manage leads in Excel, right? That could be used in all departments, right? Whether it's a founder, whether it's a chief marketing officer, they might all struggle with this sort of pain. So that could be something you guys can use as well. The other subject line is actually one of my favorites as well, is a reference. So with the reference, you're actually talking specifically on something you noticed. So that could be, for example, the person you're looking to target, their chief marketing officer, appear on a podcast. You can actually get like a clip of their podcast, something that they said, you could put that in the subject line. That'll ultimately capture their attention, and you're ultimately showing this individual that you know them, right? You care enough to actually write a good subject line that appeals to their needs. So, for example, I saw you or your company in this, right? Or, hey, congrats on your new gig, right? If they join a company, their new hire, you want to congratulate them on their new gig. That oftentimes gets a lot of replies and opens. Notice your article. If they were featured in an article, that's really important. Another one is actually combining some, like a reference is along with their pain. For example, like, tired of using Salesforce. If they maybe have trouble using Salesforce, it's relevant because you're referencing their tech stack, but it's also, appealing to the pain that they might be experiencing. And one of my favorite ones, actually, and by far this is my favorite one, is internal meeting subject line. You guys might be asking yourselves what that is exactly. It's kind of vague, but it's kind of what people do in their email inbox, which is look for like a to-do list, which means like they do one email, they reply to one email, they go to the next one and the next one. So with those, it's actually kind of cool where it doesn't necessarily have to be something, captivating their attention, but it's almost like, hey, like, any thoughts here, any questions here? That could be a subject line. You could oftentimes even just put their name with the question mark. That looks like maybe it's internal meeting coming from some other department that is urgent. You could also put, like, for example, like spoke to, referencing maybe like one of their colleagues. Spoke to Susan as an example. That's very important because that the prospect you're sending an email to might want to know, like, what the conversation entailed between you and Susan, right? And they don't know who you are, so they'll open it because of them knowing who Susan is, right? And then that's probably my favorite one. But then out of these three, definitely have to say that any thoughts here is probably my favorite because it could be coming from anyone within their department, so to speak. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it's a little bit of a shorter video, but let me know if you have any questions. I'll be putting this exact sheet in the description for you guys to check out. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Happy to kind of chat through this. And yeah, leave a like and a comment if you guys enjoyed as well. Thanks so much, guys.